This is Upper Holloway, which is on the Gospel Oak to Barking line. It's a fairly obscure part of the London suburban network, but Transport for London is extending the trains, investing in new trains, increasing the frequency, even on a relatively small and obscure part of the rail network like this. That's because the railways are booming. I'm Christian Wolmar, and I've been writing about the railways for about 15 years, and I was fortunate enough to be made transport correspondent of The Independent just as the railways were being privatised. So I followed the story as a political story, which it was. It was a privatisation that was very controversial, probably the most controversial of the privatisations. My latest book is called Fire and Steam, and it's a general history of the railways. Oddly enough, it's something that hasn't been done for a very long time, because there's a lot of books about the railways, but they tend to be about obscure branch lines, or they tend to be written in a very technical way. And mine's about the people who built the railways, the way that the railways transformed Britain, the way that, for example, they allowed fish and chips to be eaten across the nation rather than just in seaside towns. We tend to see lots of coverage in the newspapers that is negative about the railways, and people essentially criticising them, saying they don't work properly, that trains were delayed and so on. But actually, the real story behind that is one of success, with many more people wanting to use the railways, with most trains, around 90% being on time. Most journeys actually are quite satisfactory. And when you ask passengers, did they think their experience on the railways was good or bad, over 3/4 will say, well, it was good, which is pretty good for any product. So the railways really are an Aunt Sally that have long been criticised, something that stretches back right to the 19th century, where the great railway companies were hated as monopolists, and somehow that feeling has survived. And I think it's unfair. I think that the railways deserve a better press.
Thank you for your cooperation.